Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rogers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners. We have medical doctors. We have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids, like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
Welcome to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. Today we're graced with the presence and the energy of Dr. Pamelaia Sanders, a dear friend of mine who serves so many people and so many different organizations in this universe. And so, Pam, would you please introduce yourself to our worldwide audience?
Thank you, Dr. Sandy. Reverend Sister Sandy, I call you doctor just because of the capacity that I see you in this world. And so I come to you today. I am an educator, a transformative learning educator. But what I have found on this journey is that I walk in a variety of ways. I give to others as I feel like I should give to them from my heart. And so I am currently serving as a caregiver to my mother, using a variety of modalities to help her on her journey as she is nearing her 89th birthday. I just walk in the world with my heart, I think, opening it to others and giving as I feel like I need to, Miss Sandy.
Yes. And you've done that so well.
Yes.
We met in Atlanta. You went and obtained your PhD in California.
Yes.
You've lived in Arizona, and now you're in the South.
Yes, I am.
Where you're in your birthplace with your mom, and so you've also done some Peace Corps work over in Africa.
Yes, I did.
So you have a worldwide view of life and
Yes.
living, right?
I want to think that I do. I served in the Peace Corps back in the 90s. I was a business consultant, but in that capacity, I was doing a variety of things, working with small businesses, doing a lot of health and nutrition with people there, doing a lot of AIDS work back there in Africa. And so I've worked everything from the business arena to the educational, working at some major universities on the West Coast and educating our kids in elementary school. And so I've done a variety of things in my lifetime, and they all contribute to what I feel like I do now as a transformative giver of life, should I say. And so I bring all of that, as I like to say, in my medicine bag to give to humanity as I see fit to give. And as well, my spirituality plays a major part in who I am and how I walk in the world, Miss Sandy. It's important. And I think because of my 50 some odd years of living on the face of this earth, I've come to realize that we can't just compartmentalize parts of who we are. It's not just the mind, the intellectual. It's not just the way we're looking at physical, but it's the spirit, the heart, the soul, and the body that we must take into consideration as we sojourn on this path of life. And so because I've worked in so many different capacities, I believe at this age in life, I come with my medicine bag even fuller than it was 20 or 30 or 40 years ago.
Excellent, excellent. And you offer so much because you give from the depth of who you are, and you make sure that you learn all that you can in order to present the best information to people.
I try. I realize that, I think because we hit certain landmarks in our lives, in our 40s and our 50s, and I'm in my 50s, as I said earlier, and I realize that it's not just about the getting the information, but it's also dispersing that information, sharing it with people. I've been very blessed, very fortunate to travel as extensively as I have, to go back to school to get my master's and my doctorate, and to do a lot of work to get certifications and different things. And I realize that a people perish for a lack of knowledge. So oftentimes people don't do X, Y, and Z because they don't have the information, which they should have gotten A, B, and C to be able to do those things. And so at this point in my life, Miss Sandy, what my intentions are to help people to get that information, to disseminate the information in such a way, and to help people. And sometimes it's just basically breaking off a piece of this big piece of pie and saying, taste and eat and try and understand what's going on. And in that process, people begin to walk differently and to move differently. I take for an example with my mother. Over a year ago, matter of fact, it's a year ago this month that we brought her home. She had been very sick. The doctors had said what they had said, but I believed a different report, the report of the Lord. And Mama wasn't walking when she came home. She was in a wheelchair. She was bedridden. And I took a piece of information because I believe in the herbs and the wellness of the body. I believe in essential oils. And I mixed together what I believed intuitively I knew would work well for my mother to massage her legs, her back, her arms. I used those things on my mom. As well, I listened to my naturopathic doctor and what I needed to do for her, because at her age of 87 back then, she wasn't able to undergo a surgery to have repair on her heart. And so I took the information that I had obtained and my own training, my own working with herbs and essential oils. I used that information. And today my mother is alive. She's well. She's walking. She's taking care of her business. She's doing phenomenally well. Doctors are looking at her and saying, "What did she do? What's going on?" And when we were at the doctor's last month, they said to her, "Whatever you're doing, Miss Sanders, continue doing those things." And so it's sometimes not having a whole bunch of information, but just a small part of information to say, okay, this will work for me. And so even changing my mother's diet, helping her to eat differently, eating a heart-healthy diet has helped her. And so because of those small changes she made in her intake and what she was putting in her system has given her extra life, extra years, extra months, should I say. And she's moving around. She's able to walk. She's able to go out to the not to the grocery store, but to places. She gets to go to church now. She gets to go out to the restaurants to eat and do those things. And that's added to the quality of her life. And I believe that's important for all of us to have that kind of information. So
That's wonderful.
yes.
And her mama is feisty too.
Yes, mommy is feisty. I thank God for that, because I can say she was determined. She set goals for herself. Through the process of her healing, she set numerous goals. We're looking forward to a road trip coming up real soon, and because she needs to be able to walk and do some things, guess what? She set the goal to say, I need to walk through the house a number of times a day, and she does that. She set the goal in her heart. She needed to do those things, and she's done that. So it's important. So she's doing well. So thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. In that same spirit of honoring the people that you serve, I understand that you've had 4 individuals, close friends of yours, to transition or to leave this earth within the last month. And so as we were talking, we discovered that is a subject that is not normally talked about, and that's the death and how that impacts the individual and the family and the community. So would you like to continue that discussion?
I would. I thank you for that. We were initially to talk about emotional wellness, emotional healing, and that branched off from my dissertation, what is the experience of healing soul and rest in the African American community. And so Miss Sandy, 4 of my very close friends transitioned in the past 4 weeks. And that was a lot. And in my being able to talk to you and tell you this is what's going on, because I haven't been able to express that. But I want to share this one particular relationship. I've often heard, when people are coming into the world, we do the preparation. The baby is coming into the world, so we go out and we do a lot of different things. We prepare the room, the space for this baby to move into. And what I'm learning from this whole experience is that if we can begin to prepare for the death, for the transitioning, for the going to the other side, I think we will be healthier, better people. My experiences as a child growing up are different with death than they are now. As a child, I remember hearing my mother and my grandmother and my ancestors talking about what used to happen. Back in the day, the ancestors would sit with the elders, and oftentimes they would have the wakes in the homes. And back in those days, the bodies of loved ones were buried on family plots. That's not happening anymore. And so people were very much so in touch with the death and dying process. Today we've been removed from that process, pretty stoic in many ways. When we go into churches, people, the body is there, and people sometimes sit and say nothing. Sometimes people cry and express their emotions. But I am living through this process of losing 4 very close friends in a way that was different than, say, maybe 20 some odd years ago when I lost my brother, Norman. I lost his sister 6 months ago. And what happened soon after I lost my sister, Faye, which her death came to us, and it bombarded us. I shared with a very dear friend of mine, Adrian. We've known each other for 15 years. And in that process, walk with me through this journey, if you will, if I can share this with you. someone that I've known for a long time. He would check in on me periodically to know how I'm doing, see how I'm doing, just to say I'm thinking of you. And we had our differences and bouts or whatever. And little did I know what he was going through. He had been dealing with cancer, had been going through chemotherapy and radiation. Long story short, I felt the need, because we were talking to one another more often, the need to ask him for forgiveness. Because in our 15 years of friendship, we had our differences. We had butted heads and said some cruel things to one another. And I felt that he needed to ask or to do some things. But I realized it was Pamelaia who needed to say, please forgive me for what I may have said or done to you, Adrian, that offended you, that hurt you, that cut you to the core. And that little process, those few words of asking him to forgive me for what I had said or done to him, began as a healing process for both of us. Because our conversations through the past few years have been just like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. But in that process, little did I know that I was walking with him through the last months of his life. And as we both sat on the phone and talked and opened up and shared where we had been, those few words began to bring us closer together. And both of us are Christians, both of us believe in God. And we were able to spend the last 6 months of his life in a different place. And he was able to share with me where he had been and saying, it's about love, Miss Sandy. It's about walking in a place of true integrity to love one another as God has loved us. And in that space, we were able to text one another, every day, send Marco Polos and to share. And I'm so grateful for that, because little did I know that I was losing a friend, someone who I had come to know for over 15 years and then would be coming closer to the end of his life and coming closer to him, drawing closer to him in friendship. And in his passing, in his getting ready to transition, he picked up his phone and he sent me a Marco Polo. And he made certain to tell me, I love you. And I'm very grateful for us having spent these last few months coming closer together. And I'm grateful for this because when he had passed, when he had transitioned, his oldest daughter sent me a text, and she said, I want you to know that my daddy said for me to make certain that I sent you a text and tell you he loves you. Very grateful for every moment that you all have spent together in the past several months. And so I say that, I share this story because I believe as we live well, Miss Sandy, we're able to die well. And I'm grateful because he has given me a gift that, yes, he is gone and I miss him greatly, but at the same time, it's so beautiful to say, I hold no ill will against him. He got it right in the sense that he had walked around, and God knows I love him, he had walked around pretty full of himself for many years, pretty arrogant and pompous, but he began to realize in these last few years the importance of living well and loving well. And so though he has gone from this earth plane, I miss him greatly, but I feel like I'm at a great peace because there's a love in my heart that was able to be reignited in these last few months of his life. And so I say this because I miss each one of my loved ones, my friends that have passed in the past few years, and I'm able to talk about they're dying. Whereas 27 years ago when I lost my brother Norman, I went into a deep space of darkness, of depression. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of hurt because of the conditions in which he passed under. I didn't talk about losing my brother because it was so hard. But as I've lost my loved ones and my friends over the past 6 months, over the past 4 weeks, I'm able to talk about them and I remember them. I celebrate their lives. I talk and say, oh, this about my sister Faye. I talk about each one of my friends that I've lost. And I think because of my being in a different place in my own way, I have said, I will not go back into that dark space. I want to not grieve them, but I want to celebrate their lives. I want to celebrate the memory. I want to celebrate the love of who they are. And I think so oftentimes in our culture, as African American people of color, we don't talk about what hurts us, what grieves us, the loss. We hold on to the pain, and that pain has a way of impacting us in our physical bodies, and our emotional bodies, and our psyches. And so I have chosen to talk about my friends. I talk about my sister. I mean, I'm like her twin. We look a lot alike. We are shaped, we have lots of things in common. It's almost like we're twins. And I choose to celebrate her by doing things differently with what I'm putting into my body, consuming and exercising, taking better care of myself, because she was a registered nurse and she knew a lot of different things, good things, but she did things a little bit different when she was in her own private space. And so I believe that it's important for us to begin to talk about and to prepare for it. Because as we prepare for death, we begin to walk in the world differently. Because the truth of the matter is, most of my friends and my sister didn't know that death was going to knock on their door when it did. But what happened was, I can say with my friend Adrian, because of those last 6-7 months of our friendship, I feel a great release, a great understanding of life after death. I believe if we can prepare for death as we prepare for life, we will walk in the world better and differently. And I'm often reminded, people say, well, why did God, and I say this to Miss Sandy, why did God take my loved one from me? But just as God created life, he also created death. And none of us are here to stay forever. And so as we prepare for death and are living, I believe that when that time comes for us, that our loved ones will be able to remember us and to cherish the moments that we have spent with them.
Because we never know.
We never know.
There's not a number. You don't live until you're 99.2 days to, and then that's the expiration of life here on earth.
Yes.
And so in thinking about what you just shared with us,
mm-hmm.
and that preparation period for death would be to live every day.
Yes.
In love and forgiveness.
Yes, exactly. The Word of God tells us to live and love, the fruit of the Spirit, to forgive one another. And so we oftentimes hold on to stuff. I'm going to get him, or I'm going to get her, or she's did. But to every day ask for forgiveness. To forgive ourselves first and foremost. To forgive those who have wronged us, who have done us wrong. And to walk in a place of love. I often look at you, and I often say this to you, Miss Sandy. You are the epitome of light and love, because you walk in such love. It's like there's a ray of sunshine around you. I use you as an example because you're the founder. You are the person, the moderator for this forum, for this worldwide movement. And so I know that I've known you for 20 some odd years, I think it is. And you walk in love, even when I've not done right. You say, I'm gonna love you anyway, girl. And it's like, that's important. And that, I believe, shows a level of maturity, that shows a level of emotional maturity, as well as spiritual maturity. And so it's important for us to begin to get this right, especially in our community, because people oftentimes say, well, they did something to my mama, my grandma, and it's like, but baby, this is a new day, a new time. And so forgiveness is, because we don't we don't go through forgiveness work for the other person. We go through that work for ourselves. Like I use the example with myself and Adrian. I felt in my mind that he needed to do some things, but I needed to do what I did for myself. And once I did that, I believe that I was able to walk in a different space. I know for a fact we walked in a totally different space in life and love, and now in his death and his passing. So it's important for us all to do that.
How would you describe the wellness benefits, or the benefits from looking at life and relationships with
mm-hmm.
others in the vein that you're speaking of, the love and the forgiveness?
One of my dear friends passed last Tuesday. And I remember the last card I got from her. And each one of the people, I've talked to them in the past several months that have passed, I have no regrets. I miss them, but there's a freeness. I'm free. I'm free. One of the things that I learned from you, Miss Sandy, is that you often end conversations with, on the phone, I love you. My girlfriend Cheryl, those words, I love you. My friend Adrian, hanging up the phone, I love you, Pamelaia. My girlfriend Lynette, I love you, as well as Lisa. But she called me Smiley. I love you, Smiley. And so those words are so precious, and we never know when our time will come. When I tuck my mom into bed at night, Mama, I love you. Those are 3 simple words, but they mean so much. They carry such great weight when we speak from our heart. And so that work is important, because though they're absent in their body, they will forever live on in my heart.
That's beautiful. There has been some circles that have fear and have taught fear about death. But we all know it's going to happen. We all are going to experience it at some time. And so to listen and take heed to the advice that you're sharing about honoring and respecting and loving on people today is so crucial.
It is. It is so crucial. One of the things that I heard as a child growing up was that 2 things you got to do. You can go die and you got to pay taxes. I've often heard one of my good friends who's a pastor in this area say, you know what, baby, you're traveling through. You got an expiration date, an alpha and an omega, a beginning and an end. And that ending is what we're all moving toward. It's inevitable. And so I want it to be said when my time comes that I've walked in love and I've walked in light. I haven't always gotten it right, Miss Sandy. I haven't. But time has brought about a change. And the knowledge, the awareness, as you see things and you realize, you know what, this temple that I'm walking around in one day will go back to dust. And so the part of me that knows right chooses to do right and do differently. And so I tell people, we live and we learn, and maybe what we did when we were in our teens and our 20s, we may have done some things, but you know what? Forgiveness is important. Love is essential. I believe that when we love, when we open ourselves to love, we open our arteries to love. There's a song that I wrote many years ago, Open My Heart to Love. And when we walk in love, it's just like our chest, I believe, it opens up. There's an expansion of the chest, and that's the heart range there. And beautiful things begin to happen. If you've ever noticed, if you've seen someone who is walking around, who's always angry, who's always just mean-faced, mean-spirited, they tend to repel people. But when we walk in love, it's like the vibration is so high, people begin to just come, and they want to be a part of whatever it is whatever you have, I want some of it. And this, what it is just love, because you've done your work, your inner work, and you have begun the process of allowing the light into your heart. And so when you do that, people will be able to say, oh, she's so loving, she's so kind, she's so giving. And that's what I want. That's the epitome of what I want to be able to have people to say about me when my work down here is done.
Excellent.
Yes.
In closing, what words of wisdom would you like to share, pulling from any of the many areas of expertise that you have? It doesn't have to be singular, but what advice would you leave with our audience, knowing that we're touching people to be able to increase their quality of living?
Miss Sandy, profound question. In order to live well, one must take care of this temple: spirit, soul, and physical body. Eat healthy, nutritious foods. Take care of this. exercise, drink your water, be out in the sunshine. Because when you eat live, healthy, plant-based things, this temple tends to appreciate it more. Love and forgive. And so that you may live well all of the days of your life. So that when that time comes when you say, goodbye, I'll see you on the other side, they will say, that was a loving, kind, and good person. Well done, well done, well done.
Thank you, Dr. Pamelaia Sanders.
Thank you, Miss Sandy. I love you and I appreciate you. And may the goodness of God always shine upon you. Bless you, young lady.
Thank you, I accept.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
And that's what I want, more just what I need.